Very little, quite frankly. We know that there has been a series of targeted U.S. military strikes against key military installations within Venezuela. That includes Fuerte Tiuna, which is outside Caracas, a major military base. It's also a presidential compound. They hit an Air Force landing strip in La Carlota. They hit another airstrip in El Hatillo. It looks like they hit a port facility. Now, they're claiming that that was to provide cover now for what looks to be what was a smash and grab operation in which they they seized former president now, I guess, Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, and are now shipping them to the United States. They're claiming, the White House is claiming this was a law enforcement operation. It's unclear what authority it has, first for those military strikes inside Venezuelan territory, but second, to conduct a law enforcement operation in a sovereign country to arrest a illegitimate president, but a president de facto nonetheless. So there's a lot of questions here, questions in terms of international law, question in terms of whether this violated the U.S. War Powers Act. There was no permission or even warning to the U.S. Congress that this was going to happen. And then questions of what comes next. Right now, it was simply a removal strategy of Nicolas Maduro. It's unclear what government will follow. It's clear the government is fragmenting, but that's all we know right now. Things are going to move very, very quickly. Things may clarify in a couple days, but they may not, because this does open up an entirely, really unforeseen, in many ways, unexpected series of events that will determine the future of peace, security, and the democratic future of Venezuela. I wish I could give you more succinct answers, but the truth is it's playing out in real time before our eyes. We don't know the backroom negotiations, but we can tell you what's interesting is the Democratic opposition has remained quiet right now. They're watching how this plays out. In part because they don't know which way the Trump administration will take this. I mean, if indeed the government that results from the removal of Nicolas Maduro is not satisfactory to the Trump administration, and in that case, we're meaning which elements of the Trump administration, because it may be, for Donald Trump, it may just be sufficient because he's been defined this as a removal of Nicolas Maduro. He hasn't said a complete regime change. We need to understand what the U.S. is doing right now, or the Trump administration is doing right now in Venezuela. It's not just limited to Venezuela. This is a warning shot across the bow of the entire region, of the 33 countries of Latin America, to say, hey, if you get out of line, if you engage in narcotics trafficking, if you steal elections, if you become a target of basically Donald Trump's misinformation, let's be honest, while the Maduro government was by no means a saint, it was as corrupt and repressive and human rights abusing and bloody as it's been alleged. But the truth is that this also got into the Trump administration's sights because of the massive amount of Venezuelan refugees and immigrants that have come to the United States. What we've seen is an escalation of U.S. military force. And the question was always, would Donald Trump use that military force to strike in the territory? And I think, quite frankly, the most important thing about this is that I think this strategy was hatched without an end game, without a final plan. The hope was always to rattle the military and to produce regime change on the cheap. But what we also got was a zigzagging narrative of the scope of this operation and its intent. It started with claims that this was about narcotics trafficking and taking out those narcotics traffickers, and even stretching a very contested definition of anti-terrorist operations and who constitutes combatants to fit Donald Trump's agenda in ways that have not been tested by even domestic or international law.